Hey everyone, what's up? Just checking something there for a second. And welcome to this live stream. It's about 1:07 p.m. Pacific time right now. But this live stream, and I do apologize for any abrupt interruptions that may occur, because of possible lag or the fact that, I got the Xfinity XB6 modem. And obviously, the emphasis is more on Wi-Fi than internet, even though I have an internet cable connecting the modem to my laptop here. The emphasis seems to be more on Wi-Fi because it seems that when other people connect their Wi-Fi around the area, it kind of knocks it out a little bit for a brief few seconds, because people have to get on the Wi-Fi and, get themselves connected on Wi-Fi or something. So I apologize if there's any kind of lag in the future. Or any abrupt interruption, I don't mean for that to happen. And if I'm doing this, at times I'm constantly checking my computer because apparently there's an update. Apparently there's going to be an update coming soon. And the way, our computers or our laptops with Windows 10 like to act up, you never know when it might slow down a little bit because it's trying to get itself ready for the update. So just thought I'd let you guys know what's going on there, so you will be prepared for what could happen if there's any kind of slow ups or something like that. But yeah, I wanted to excuse me. I wanted to come on here, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting over a cough. This is what happens when you go and work at a place like I do, or you ride a bus. And no disrespect when I say this, and people behind you start coughing and everything, and they don't cover their mouths completely. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. God knows I don't. But you end up getting the germ as well. So yeah, I do apologize for the cough there. I'm trying to get over it a little bit. But yeah, I thought I'd come on here and discuss some things. Of course, My Little Pony related, kind of talk about a few things that has gone on and everything recently, and stuff that will be in the future. But I thought I'd come on here and talk about a few items, a few things, just to kind of get them off my chest a little bit, kind of let you guys know what I feel about them, or how I feel about them anyway. Some of the things I want to talk about, and I'm going to make sure I get get this right, is of course we'll talk about the US premiere of What Lies Beneath, which I believe was episode 22. I believe. No, not episode 20. Was it 22? Let me see. Oh yeah, it was 22 because next week is Sounds of Silence, and then Father Knows Beast, and then on October 13th the two-parter. Yeah, but I'm here to talk about What Lies Beneath. Talk about what episode 200 may be, could be about, as well as a certain scene from Fame and Misfortune, which happened last year, and people still talk about it. To whether or not shipping will finally occur in season 9, I've been very advocate about that, and much more. So, with that said, let's talk about What Lies Beneath. Now, What Lies Beneath actually premiered several weeks prior to today. It actually premiered, if I got this correct, if I have this correctly, it actually premiered about several weeks ago, because basically about, I think, was it, it's going to be, trying to think here. Trying to think. basically it debuted back in August is what it did, because if I look at the calendar here, and I'm going to pull this up right now, the finale in Australia and Europe premiered on the 8th and the 9th of this month. Father Knows Beast premiered on the 1st and the 2nd. I mean, What Lies Beneath Sounds of Silence premiered on the 1st and the 2nd. So it was basically on, if I can pull this up, August. It was basically on August 26th, that it premiered in Australia and in Europe. So, yeah, it made its debut then, and I saw some of it, a little bit of what was going on. Actually, I'm the one that kind of downloaded it through Daily Motion. Actually, I had to use my Amazon Kindle to download it and then post it onto several group pages before it got taken down, because that's what a lot of people obviously do when an episode comes out early, is you post it at several group pages before it gets taken down. And it's even on there, right? It's even on one of them right now as I speak. But yeah, What Lies Beneath, the concept, from what I saw a little bit of, and from what people have talked about and reviewed, the concept for What Lies Beneath, because we're going to start off with that here, I thought was good. I mean, obviously we know, and if you've watched the finale already, thanks to early releases in Australia and in Europe and all that, you pretty much kind of have an idea that the young six are basically like the next in line. Hold on for a second. Hello? I don't know yet. Can't go on. It was 35-28. 34-28. It was about, I think, 38-28. Yeah. Geez. I think 10, I believe. Oh, no, that's a commercial right now. Oh, no, it's up by 11, 38-27. Yeah, they got to make 2 touchdowns. 4, about 2 minutes. If the Chiefs have the ball, no. 38-27. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Right. Sorry about that, folks. My mom just called. She wanted to check in on things, check what the score is. Because right now the game is on. It's 38-27. And it sounded like she was at my sister's, so I don't know if maybe they're watching it and they're just trying to test me, or they're watching the Oakland A's or something. So I don't really know, but I do apologize for that. Yeah, 38-20. Yeah, just watching the game, kind of like it's 38-27, 2 minutes to go in the game. So, yeah, my mom just wanted to know what was going on. So I do apologize for that interruption there. Um, but yeah, what I was talking about was oh yeah, I was talking about what lies beneath. Like I said, I liked the episode. I thought it did a decent job. As I was saying, you kind of see that the young six, the student six. Again, if you've watched the finale, thanks to the early European Australian releases, you kind of see that the young six, the student six, are kind of like the next in line to be the bearers of the elements of harmony. And you kind of, if you like I said, you watch the finale, you kind of see exactly who's going to be what bearer or chosen to be what element bearer in the future. So you kind of see that. Um, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, but basically that's about what's going. So yeah, basically the episode overall was a good one. It was a decent episode because it played on basically how the student six feel. See, the student six or the young six were being tested, but they weren't being tested by Twilight, even though it looked like it was. They were because from what we understand, they were studying for a friendship test. And of course, you get the first hint if this is the first time you're watching the episode, you get an idea that Cozy Glow, may not be exactly who she claims to be. That there's something just not right with this character. So basically, the Cozy Glow being Cozy Glow, because like I said, if this is your first time watching the episode, you kind of see that her manipulation skills, well, one of her strengths is manipulation and getting inside other characters' heads. You kind of see that she's making the student six, the young six, doubt whether or not they can be friends. So, what does the Tree of Harmony do? The tree obviously senses that something's not right about Cozy Glow. So it basically says, so basically, the Tree of Harmony, and this is one of those episodes where it's pretty much indicated that the Tree of Harmony is alive. It's a sentient being. It's alive. Its main reasoning is to basically what's the word I'm looking for? To maintain the balance of friendship in Equestria, of goodness, the balance of good and bad, if you will, but basically the overall balance of friendship. That's its main goal. Its main goal is to establish the balance of friendship, of what Equestria was built on. And I think, and the way it's presented here, the fact that it actually creates all these illusions of all these different fears that the main six, or not the main six, but the student six, um, have. What the student six have is to make them realize that yes, they can be friends. They are capable of friendship. Hold on for a second. Yeah, game is over. Niners lost by 11. And right now they're showing bonus coverage of Falcons and of Atlanta and New Orleans, who are in overtime right now, tied up. But anyway, like I was saying, basically the idea here, well, basically the concept here that the tree of harmony is alive and it's sentient and it's a sentient being. The fact that it came up with these ideas to uh, create these hallucinations or illusions of all these different fears that the young six, the student six have, to see whether or not they get to basically test them in its own right. Because, like I said, obviously we know that they're the next in line to be the bearers of harmony, to be the guardians or the bearers of the elements of harmony. And we kind of see that here because basically the tree of harmony is testing them by having the worst fears come to life, or basically creating these illusions of the worst fears. And the only way that they can prove that they are capable of friendship and possibly prove themselves to be worthy as being the next bearers of the elements of harmony is to overcome these fears. And it's done in such, and obviously, the way it's done is such it's very intriguing. It's very intriguing. It's a very intriguing way on how it's done and which how they overcome the fears. But it's also very interesting to see what worst fear affects each student. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of interesting to see which of the student six have certain fears when it comes to to who they are, to what they have to overcome. And I like that because you don't expect certain fears to well, basically what I'm saying is you don't expect these characters to have the kind of fears that they're shown. And what I'm trying to get at here is I like the choices of the fears that they have to overcome. I like the certain choices that they have. Now, I did watch Maps Misanthropony's video, his review on it, and I can understand his quips about certain things, like why would the Tree of Harmony put someone like Gallus in a situation that could get him killed? I can understand that, but I think it's more along the lines of the reason the tree did that is because it wasn't intentionally going to kill him. It was testing him to see whether or not he was worthy of the element. Because even if he wasn't worthy, it wouldn't have killed him. It would have just said, you know what, this character is not worthy of of the element we need to give him, and he's not capable of making friends. And as crazy as it sounds, like I said, as crazy as it sounds, like I said, as crazy as it's excuse me, as crazy as it sounds the fear that they gave Gallus in this episode was a good one because he's a character that's a griffin. He flies, so he doesn't know about enclosed areas. He has all this space around him, so he doesn't have to worry about being enclosed in something tight. So for them to choose that fear for him to get over and say, look, if you're going to be a bearer of the element of harmony, you're going to prove you can make friends, you need to get over this fear of enclosed areas. And the same with Smolder. Because and the same with Smolder, Smolder's fear was, the fact that she isn't just the fact that she likes cutesy things or feminine things, you know, it's not just that. it's the fact that she's afraid. It's not just the fear of getting over the fact that, oh, she likes cutesy, feminine things. No, the real fear is admitting to her friends, like, okay, if these are basically, it's like, look, if you guys really are friends, for someone like Smolder, she shouldn't be ashamed of saying, yeah, I'll come out and say it. I like cutesy things. I like tea parties. I like dressing up in makeup and dresses, da da da. Which, when you look at her, you say, well, she has a tough exterior. And she still keeps that tough exterior. But basically, her fear that she had to overcome was you can let your guard down to those that you trust. And to those won't make fun of you, won't call you out for it. Because if you truly are friends, with them, you don't have to worry about that. And the fact that they gave Smolder that fear to overcome, I thought was a good choice, because basically the show has pretty much called it out and said the show is basically called it out and said, yeah, these dragons are not meant to be friendly. They're not meant to be feminine. They're not meant to be this or that. And yet you have a dragon here in Smolder that secretly loves to be feminine. She loves cutesy things, but the only main fear she has to overcome is admitting it, not just to herself, but to those that she could trust, to those that, she could say, okay, I don't have a problem, admitting that, I like this or I like that. So the first two fears I was kind of cool with, because one, like I said, with Gallus, he has to overcome the fear of these enclosed areas because he's always flying around. He has such open space that when it comes to the enclosed areas, he doesn't know what to do. And that is basic. But when he figures out, hey, I need to overcome this and figure a way out of it, I think it's a good choice. And for someone like Smolder, I like the idea that, they chose her fear. They chose her fear to be that of, hey, I like certain things that dragons are not supposed to like. I like these girly things. I like to be feminine. I like to do this and that. And for her to admit that fear, as well as admit mainly the fear of, hey, I shouldn't be afraid to let my friends know that I like this kind of stuff. I thought were good for the very first two choices. And then you get to the other characters. Silverstream I liked because now Silverstream's was a unique one, but I can understand hers. I mean, you got to think about it. If you take the movie context, the context of the movie, which is part of the continuity, and you place it into the show, you kind of understand why she has to overcome the fear that she did. She had been trapped for years, or who knows how long, underneath the water, underneath the sea, because of the Storm King. And her people didn't know what to do when it came to the Storm King. So her fear to basically be to confront the Storm King and basically say, I'm not afraid of you anymore. You're nothing kind of deal, whatever, I thought was a good choice. And the fact that you had Gallus helping her out and say, look, you shouldn't be afraid of this guy anymore. You shouldn't be afraid to confront someone that's no longer around. So I like that one because to me, it's not just a overcoming of a fear for Silverstream, but it's an overcoming of a fear basically for the hippogriff sea ponies in general. It's like, look, this guy's gone. You don't have to be afraid anymore. He's not that much of a threat anymore. And I think basically her being, I don't know if she was reminded, I got to rewatch the episode more so. But if she was reminded by Sky of how her sister overcame it, or her cousin Skystar overcame it, I like that idea. I like that they may have used that as an encouragement for her to overcome that fear. Then we get to Yona and her fear of spiders. I like the fact that this is something common with a lot of people in real life. We have a fear of insects. We have a fear of spiders because we don't know whether or not those spiders are harmless or they're poisonous. But there's always that old saying that if you don't bother them, they won't bother you. I like how they apply that with Yoda. Basically, she lets her guard down and realizes, hey, if I don't bother them, they're not going to bother me. So there's not really much to be afraid of. I like that. I like that concept that they went with. And then we get to Oculus. Oculus, I thought was an interesting choice, but it also was. I also feel Oculus's fear of becoming like Chrysalis, if not turning into Chrysalis herself, I thought was a good idea because you obviously are not just showing how Oculus feels about, but you're not just showing the biggest fear that Oculus has, but you're showing basically the biggest fear that a lot of the changelings have, that they still feel that there's a part of them inside that will, that if they're not careful, can revert or cause them to revert back to the way they were previously when they were under Queen Chrysalis's rule. So I like the idea that there's still fear inside of not just Oculus, but obviously some of the other changelings, that they could end up going back to the way they were before. And I thought that was good because, it deals with a real life situation that you're afraid of becoming someone you despise or someone you used to look up to, but you don't want to. You want to be your own individual. And I liked what they did here with Oculus and her overcoming that fear. But what I also liked was, even though she was in the chrysalis form, because that's what her fear was, I like how it kind of maybe gave us a clue as to perhaps this was a hint. This was a hint at the fact that this could be Chrysalis, the real Chrysalis in the future. That even though this was Oculus in a Chrysalis form, because that was her fear, that I think the show staff was giving us a hint that this could be Chrysalis after redemption, or before she gets that redemption. Like, Chrysalis is going to have a moment maybe in season 9 where she breaks down finally and just lets it all out, and that leads to possibly her redemption in the future, which I know a lot of fans don't want to see, but I think is probably inevitable to happen. Hold on here a second. Yeah, just checking something there. But like I said, in the future is inevitable to happen because of the fact that Chrysalis, because of the fact that Chrysalis is such a down moment right now with her character and personality, that inevitably something like that has to occur. So overall, I from what people have said, from Map to Cartoon Gentleman, and I'm sure Dr. Wolf's going to be in agreement with this, What Lies Beneath was a good Young Six, Student Six episode. I thought it was really good. And I like how it explores more of that mythology about the Tree of Harmony being alive and being sentient. And hopefully they explore that later on in season 9. Again, if you've seen the series finale already for season 8, thanks to the early releases, you kind of get the clue that the tree's going to play another integral part later on. And the fact that they had Cozy Glow looking down into that area, almost kind of like maybe with a concerned look. If you haven't seen the finale yet, that will inevitably become that look she has, or that concern, or that curiosity. It's going to come back to haunt her later on in the series finale. So just let that sink in right there. Let that sink in right there. Now, excuse me. Oh, you're right back. Sorry about that, guy. I had to check something there. Also give my dog some food. I'll give her some meat, if you will. Excuse me. Where was I? Oh, yeah. But yeah, I think What Lies Beneath was a good character developing episode for the Student 6. And, hopefully, we'll get more of that in the upcoming season. But what I look forward to the most, hopefully, in season 9, and I didn't mention this in what fans actually want to see in season 9, but I think after this episode, after the Mean 6, and the upcoming season finale, I think fans are going to want to see more about this Tree of Harmony. Because I've always had this speculation about the Tree of Harmony. I was just thinking about this today. I'm wondering if the seed that Starswill and the other pillars planted, if maybe that was affected by someone's spirit, like maybe someone's essence or some pony's essence is contained within, and maybe the request was to be, maybe the last request or whatever was to have the spirit or the essence transferred into the seed so that they can grow into a tree that helps keep balance. I'm wondering about that. And my speculation is, could that character be a character that Silverquill talked about, that being Majesty from G1? I'm just wondering about that. It's a possibility, but it's just speculation on my part. All right. Next up, going to look here for a second. All right, next up, let's talk about episode 200. Now, I've already kind of discussed, what episode 200 could be about in the video that I did about fans want to see in season 9, or what fans actually want to see in season 9, which right now, from what I've read, which right now that video has 375 views, 10 likes, and 9 comments and 5 dislikes. So thank you to those that watched that video. I really appreciate the feedback there. But basically, in the video, I was talking about what fans actually want to see in season 9, possibly the last season from what I've read. And one of the things fans want to see is what episode 200 is going to be about. A lot of fans have speculated and said that they want it to be about a celebration about the fandom, a celebration about the show. They want something to happen in this episode. And my thought process again, and I stick by what I said, I think, in the video, is this has got to be episode 200. In my opinion, it has to be a celebration of the show and the fan base. Basically, kind of a final love letter to the fans as a way of saying thank you for supporting this show. Thank you for making this show what it is. Thank you for, like I said, basically it's got to be an overall love letter. It's got to be a major league final thank you to the fans for making the show what it is, for allowing it to cross barriers and genders and become the pop culture phenomenon that it's become. So obviously that's what it's got to be, in my opinion. In 200, it's got to be that. It's got to be, that's exactly what 200 has to be. It has to be a celebration of the fans. It has to be a celebration of the overall show itself. And in my honest opinion, overall, in my opinion, not just it's got to be all that, but it's got to have an event. It's got to have one major event in there, or something major happen in there that really, speaks to the fans and is part of that big thank you. And it's either got to be Big Mac and Sugar Bell getting married. It's either got to be Spike and Rarity finally being together, because obviously that's something fans have been supporting a majority of fans have been supporting since the beginning, whether some fans like it or they don't. A majority of the fan base has been behind that, so something like that occurring, maybe a return by Sunset Shimmer, have the friendship map call her. Something's got to happen to where this is not just an overall celebration of the show and of the fan base and a thank you to the fans, but it's got to be something. But there's got to be something that brings it all together. Some kind of an event, and I think any one of those that I mentioned, if not others might mention, is a way of doing that. Now, whatever they come up with, though, I think the overall consensus is it's going to be a major league, one last hurrah, last love letter to the fans as a thank you for, like I said, getting the show to this point. Because I'm sure if you would have told Lauren Faust when she created this that, oh, by the way, this show is going to go to 200 plus episodes or go beyond 200 episodes, I'm sure she wouldn't have believed you. But, that's what happened. So what are you going to do? But yeah, hopefully episode 200 will be exactly that, and that's really all I'm going to say. So next up, speaking of, excuse me there. Speaking of, of episodes dedicated or targeted towards the fans or about the fans, there is an episode that came out last year, which still gets talked about today, and that is Fame and Misfortune. This episode was basically targeted at the fans, mostly the analysis community, the reviewers, the critics, and a lot of the complaints that, as some fans have pointed out, have come and gone at the time of this video, was still kind of consistent, but a majority were kind of like come and gone kind of scenarios. But when I look at Fame and Misfortune, there is one scene. There is one scene in the episode that it kind of gets me a little bit, and I think I've talked about this before. I think I've talked about this before. But like I said, I think I've talked about this before. One of the scenes in Fame and Misfortune that kind of gets to me a little bit is towards the end. Now you have Twilight going out to finally try to calm the storm, kind of converse with the public to see exactly why they are acting the way they are. And there's a scene where you get this reporter pony coming in, and he's basically saying certain things that really, I'm sure other people have pointed this out, but I don't know if anybody else has. But this reporter pony comes out and basically says something that really kind of got under my skin a little bit. And I'm sure it got under the skin of a lot of fans. He basically points out that by reading the journal and reading the entries that were put in there by each of the main six, basically he finds it hard to believe that they could be friends, that the six of them could be friends. Then he brings up another thing after that. Because even Twilight's like, wait a minute, believable? And he basically says, yeah, I've read this journal cover to cover. And I think your character, and then he says this, I think your character would have been better off staying in Canterlot. And Twilight's response is, my character? And she basically explains that this is an entry of what really happened to them. So when you look at that scene and you look at what Twilight's response was saying, hey, this is what you're reading in there is exactly what happened to us. That's basically, as I think Josh Scorcher put it, that's basically the show telling us that what the community in the show is complaining about and talking about and whatever, that a lot of this actually happened to them. Basically, a lot of the entries there, and when Twilight says, hey, we're real, and these entries are what really happened to us. Basically, that's the show saying, hey, what happened in the past, these are events that really happened, and yes, certain things happen in these events. These things actually happened, and you can't do anything about it, kind of deal. Or something like that. Basically, she's saying, if you take out the wording of saying, we're real ponies, these are events that actually happen to us. Yes, it might sound like Hasbro starting to believe that their characters are real, but it's basically their way of saying this entry is basically this journal. These entries are just the episodes in which a lot of these lessons took place in. And these episodes, these moments that we did these entries of, or we wrote into these entries, have gone, have passed, have come and gone. You need to move on. That's basically, when you think about it, what Twilight was saying. Because one thing that Josh Scorcher brought up was how the characters are representing the show. The character in the journal represent the show, well, those that complain represent the analysis community. And basically, Twilight coming out and saying, these events are what really happened to us. That's the staff's way of saying, well, that's the show and the show staff's way of saying, these events did happen. They've come and gone. You need to move on. And so when Twilight says, hey, we're real ponies, these entries are things that actually happened to us, that's the staff saying, hey, these events occur. Hey, we're done. That's basically the staff saying, hey, look, we already did these, so you shouldn't be complaining because they're done and over with. That's what it sounds like a little bit. But getting back to that pony, that reporter pony, and when he said the certain things, it did get under a lot of people's skin because of the fact that he's basically saying what some fans have said. But the way I view it is this reporter pony is a bit, because here's the thing, you could have all the characters, all the background and secondary characters act so differently because of the entries in the journal, or the reactions to the entry in the journal. And that's fine. But to me, I don't know what it was about this reporter character, but when he comes out and says, I find it hard that, by reading the journal, he finds it hard that Twilight and the other main six could be friends. And then he says, after he says, I read this journal from cover to cover, and that he thinks a character would have been better off staying in Canterlot. To me, that's more of a mocking way. Because you notice it focuses on the interaction between Twilight and this reporter pony, and him basically saying, and this is Hasbro's way of saying, or the staff's way of saying, yeah, this is what you guys are saying. You're saying that Twilight would have been better if she stayed in Canterlot and stayed with those characters. Or yeah, it's kind of hard to believe that these characters would be friends. They're so different. There's no way they could be friends. And I don't know what it is, but to me, they didn't have to put that part in, because by the time that scene came in, we already had the gist. We already had the idea of what this episode was about. And this episode was about basically telling the adult fans, the analysis community, the critical analysis community, that features fans and analysis and, that features members like Josh Scorcher, aka Firebrand himself, Lightning Bliss, Silver Quill, Aramount, the Fiery Secretary, Tricky Fox, Dr. Wolf, Tarandaga, Sweetie Blue, Thespio, Finn the Pony. I love Kim Possible a lot. Dusty Cat, and several others. AC Race Best, you name it. This, Golden Fox, Keyframe. This was by the time this scene came around. By the time the scene came around, a lot of us, even them included, got the idea of what this was. Even Map got the idea of what this episode was. And the fact is, it's Hasbro's way of basically telling us, because as you see at the end of the episode, when you have the two fillies, Coconut Cream and Turalu coming in with Starlight and saying they get what the journal was telling them, it's like, Hasbro, we get it. Megan McCarthy, we get it. We understand that this show was originally intended to sell toys and to be targeted at younger kids, mostly young girls. We get that. But when your original creator of this series, of this interpretation of MLP, Lauren Faust, when her main goal, as she puts it herself, is to make a show for all ages, for all members of the family, or anybody that loves a good show, when her main goal is to do that, you can't argue with that. You can't try to change that up and say, yeah, we'll use this episode to shut them up and make them realize, hey, you can criticize the show, but remember, to you, it doesn't matter. Or to the young viewers, it doesn't matter. So, again, by that time that scene came around, a lot of us pretty much already had the idea of what the show was about. Even Josh said in his review, when the scene came around and you had all these other ponies verbally attacking and cornering Fluttershy, asking, why isn't she changed? Why hasn't she become assertive? By that time, we kind of got the idea. I mean, and to really solidify it by that moment is when you have a pony saying, why couldn't he be in the journal? Because he's done more than Fluttershy to change as a character. Why couldn't he be in the journal? And that moment right there, too, is basically them saying, yeah, this is what you guys are doing. You're pretty much saying, yeah, if we wrote the show, this is what would happen. That was what happened. This character would do this. This character would do that. And the thing is, by that time, and like I said, by the time we got to that reporter interaction with Twilight, we already had the idea. So you didn't have to have this reporter pretty much say, in my opinion, in a mocking way, that, yeah, in a mocking way, him basically pointing out that he doesn't find it believable that the main six could be friends just because they're so different as to who they are. Or the fact that Twilight could have been better off staying in Canterlot and being with characters like, and I mean this with no offense, characters like Moon Dancer, Minuet, Lemon Hearts, you name it. Lyra Heartstrings. It's like, it's like, we already got the gist of it. You didn't have to bring that up. So to me, I know it's a meaningless scene to a lot of people to be harping on, but to me, this scene just really stuck out to me as being one of those scenes in an episode already, by the time you got to it, that already pretty much was calling out the fan base, if not the analysis community, for criticizing something. Because when you think about it, when you look at the overall message that the staff was trying to throw at us, especially at the end of the episode, that, hey, you can enjoy the show and everything, but remember the main targeted audience is young kids, young girls, and to them, it doesn't matter how good an episode is. It doesn't matter how a character develops or doesn't develop or whatever. To them, all they want to do is see the ponies. All they want to do is see what new pony and toy they're going to end up getting. That's all they care about. And basically that right there is the overall message. That, yeah, you can enjoy the show, but don't criticize it because you are not the targeted audience. Here's the thing, though. You can't. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Would you tell that to a young fan that's trying to watch Game of Thrones and say, you're not supposed to be watching that? Or here's an episode where we talk down to the younger kids and basically tell them, don't watch this because it's not meant for you? Do the creators there do that? No, they don't. Because they realize, yeah, young kids are going to watch it because it's an action-adventure drama show that, oh, by the way, sells merchandise. It sells t-shirts. It sells Funko figures. It sells action figures, collectible figures. So you can't tell me that a show like Game of Thrones would do an episode talking down to the younger audience saying, hey, this isn't meant for you. Because they wouldn't. The creators are not that shallow when they feel like it. So, yeah. But getting back on topic here, this scene, though, and I'm sure a lot of you know which one I'm talking about, just really stuck out to me. Because, again, by the time we got to it, we pretty much already had the idea of exactly what this episode was about. We pretty much already had an idea. So yeah, it's just, overall, we get overall what the episode was about last year. But to me, it's just that one moment, because we all have certain moments from that episode that stick out to us as the staff really just trying to stick it to us, trying to give us this in response at times. But to me, that one moment there is what really stuck out, because of the fact that you have him saying, I find it hard that I find it hard that you guys would be friends, or find it believable the six of you could be friends, or find it unbelievable. And, oh, yeah, I've read this journal cover to cover and feel that your character would have been better off staying in Canterlot. I mean, him saying that, it's basically the way of showing how we fans look at it. How certain entitled fans, and Josh is right about this, there are certain fans out there that feel things could have been better if Twilight would have remained in Canterlot. Or if the fact that the main six are so different in personality that, the friendship shouldn't be as strong as it is. But the thing is, you didn't have to add that in, because we as fans already know that as friends, that true friendship is going to go through a lot of tests. Take a look at season 8, for goodness sakes. If you want a good example of that, take a look at this current season. The friendship gets tested here all the time, mostly in recent episodes. Heck, you got Father Knows Beast coming up. And if you've seen the early release of that, you pretty much know already probably the strongest of the friendships is going to get tested. So, to me, this moment didn't need to be. You didn't have to have an interaction to where, because basically when you get down to when this reporter pony comes out and says, I read this journal from cover to cover, that's basically the staff saying, oh yeah, these guys must have watched episode from episode, or must have watched, these critics and reviewers must have watched every single episode back to back. They must know what they're talking about, because we don't, obviously, in their minds. And here's the thing. if the staff would just come out maybe on YouTube or on Twitter or social media of some kind and just address us and say, look, we understand how you guys feel, but listen, this show is originally meant for young kids. It doesn't matter to them whether a story makes sense or characters development makes sense or not. It's about the kids and what toys they could buy. I mean, and Josh used, I don't know where it was from. He used some kind of scene or some kind of interview moment or something where you had someone address the fact that, basically in Josh's mind, Hasbro not making themselves clear. And when you have when you have a lot of the critics who feel that this is basically them being mocked, them being criticized themselves. So being mocked and being talked down to. You know, when you are a major conglomerate like Hasbro and you want a show, you want an episode that's going to talk down to the fans, instead of being the episode that the writer, M.A. Larson, wanted to originally have, then you're not communicating very well. I mean, here's what they should have done. The moment Lauren Vowles stepped out and Megan McCarthy took over the reins, they should have came out of a video and say, look, guys, things are going to change here in MLP. This is going to be targeted more to a younger audience. So you adult fans may not like what happens here. So you might just want to go away and watch some other stuff because this is going to be meant for young kids. If they would have just came out and done something like that, we would have better understood. But who knows? I mean, the fact that season 7 was a bit of a pandering season for the older fans, the adult fans. Hey, I appreciate that. I accept that. But if all that pandering was to lead up to this episode as being seen, yeah, see what we gave you? We gave you a rarity that rocks out with a guitar and go, oh, you see what we gave you that? We gave you this, we gave you that. But now we're going to tell you how we really feel. And if that was all this was about, just to build up to this episode where you're telling us how you really, truly feel about us as an overall fan base, mostly the critical side, then why even pander? Why even pander? I'm just curious. But, yeah, I know I'm getting a bit off topic here, but the thing is, this one scene, like I said, it just really irks me a little bit. Because like I said, by the time we got here, we already pretty much knew what this episode was about. So, yeah, I don't think we needed. I don't think we needed another. Honestly, I don't think we needed. That scene right there, because you're basically having the character, like I say, coming out and saying that he's read from cover to cover, basically his way of saying, I don't know who that is. Basically, you have, this guy just report. I mean, because like I said, what he says is, basically it's, just a way of saying, oh, you must have watched every episode from beginning to recent to know what you're talking about. Because, yeah, it is true that a lot of us fans came in late. There's no doubt about that. So maybe we don't have the right to criticize, certain moments if we just came in late. But you can't judge people for liking what they want. I mean, Josh said it best. What you're doing is dehumanizing those, is demoralizing and dehumanizing those that have a right to free speech. So anyway, enough about that. Enough about that scene, because I got a little off topic at times. Try to start the rant, so I apologize for that. Now, on to the next one, and that is whether shipping will finally occur in season 9. And I'm going to say this about that. I've talked about it before, and I truly believe that shipping will occur. Um, Pretty much, as I've said before, when you take a look at what happened in season 7 with Big Mac and Sugar Bell, and then you take a look at this season with Mod Pie and Mud Briar, you have these two secondary characters, very popular characters that, if given more screen time, could be regulars, like, really like every episode regulars. Um, when you have them now suddenly getting into these relationships, to me, it kind of sets the tone, if you will. Sorry about this, checking here or something. But it kind of, I look, I kind of look at the fact that shipping, that when you have those two characters ending up in romantic relationships, to me, like I said before, I think those are just tests. They're testing they're testing what they could do, and I think those tests have passed in a major way, because when one thinks about it, when one really thinks about it, not only have those tests, not only have these relationships passed the test, but to me, they've kind of set up for what could come next season. Um, and I truly believe that we're going to get some shipping of the main characters. We're going to get, possibly, as I've mentioned before, a sunset, not a sunset, but a starlight sunburst ship finally occur. And I think it's going to be done in a very organic way. I think it's going to be done to the point that when you get to that episode, you're going to appreciate it more. I also think finally we're going to get spike in rarity. I don't know why, but I think spike in rarity is gonna happen, because you keep teasing it even up to this season for 2 episodes in a row, if you will, and then you kind of take a look at the final season, or not the final season, but the first part of the season finale, and the point is, when you keep teasing it, hinting at it, referencing it, it's only more than likely you're going to have to follow through on it. You're going to have to make it happen, because you either make it happen or you do something else. I mean, I understand that the show staff kind of teased that Spike might have a crush on Applejack and they might go that way. That would be interesting. But who knows? Who knows? A lot of people are hoping that maybe Smolder will get on the act. But I think if they're going to do a ship with Smolder, they're going to go in another direction with her. So, so we'll just have to wait and see exactly what occurs here, but what happens. But I do believe, as far as the main cast goes, shipping will occur. We just don't know, when, like what episodes it's gonna, what episodes it's gonna get started in, and what episodes it's gonna conclude in. So, or finally acknowledged and made official. We don't know yet, but it's going to happen. I truly believe it, because again, why would you in this season and last season, 2 seasons before the potential last season itself, which is season 9, potentially last season, why would you tease, or why would you put 2 secondary, if not almost regular characters in Big Mac and Mod Pie into relationships with 2 new characters, or one returning character like Sugar Bell and a new character in Mud Briar? I'm just saying. I think it makes I'm just saying. I think it makes a lot of sense that that's the next logical step for them to go in as far as shipping is concerned. So, do I believe shipping will happen? Absolutely. I truly do. I truly do believe it's going to happen. So, anyway, that's about it for the main topics. Now we're going to talk about some other things here. Mostly, one of the bigger news items to come out in the past month and a half is My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic is going to remain on Netflix. I did a video about this back on let me see when I did it. I did a video about this about a week ago on September 15th where I talked about it. And yeah, we don't know the specific of the details, but basically for about a month or less than a month or something like that, or about a month and a half, um, things were going back and forth as far as Netflix and Hasbro were concerned. There were obviously there were some contract negotiations going on, but whatever happened was, whatever was happening was really making a lot of the fan base worried, because even though you have on demand and you can pretty much catch every episode from the very first season, the very first episode in the first season to currently, it did worry a lot of fans, because to them, Netflix is one of the only logical ways to watch MLP, especially if you're on the road. If you're traveling and you want to watch something to keep yourself entertained, MLP is one of those shows. So the idea of Netflix not having it anymore really worried people. But there were those that kind of calmed things down and said, look, we've been through this before. It's happened before. And they've usually kept it on. In fact, they said the last time it happened was 2015. So, and that was about 3 years ago. So we can only assume that we got another 3-year deal here with Friendship is Magic, between Hasbro and Netflix for Friendship is Magic, because back on the 15th, around the 15th, a deal obviously was finally reached, and all 7 seasons will put back up on Netflix. Because for a time, seasons kept fluctuating in and out. You know, season 1 and 2 would be there, then they'd be gone. Season 3 and 4, then you'd have just the first 4 seasons. Then you'd have only a couple of episodes of certain seasons. It was just back and forth, and finally, obviously, negotiations went through, I should say, and a deal was reached, and it's back on there. So, yeah, it was kind of an up and heel battle, but obviously, a lot of people that kind of were not too worried. I mean, I was not worried, obviously, because I kept coming out and saying, look, you're going to have other options even if the show is gone from Netflix. You're going to have on demand, and who knows? Maybe Amazon Prime might purchase the license to air the series as part of the Prime account. So we don't know exactly what the details are. Obviously, it's probably for another few years. I'm guessing part of the deal is that instead of just getting the first half of a season, that they get the whole season, because apparently in Australia and other parts of the world where Netflix is at as well, and they've already finished up season 8, they already got season 8. So I'm speculating that part of the deal was instead of getting half a season, they're going to get the whole season. They're just going to wait till that season's complete before they put it on to Netflix. So I'm guessing that's obviously what part of the deal was. As far as the movie goes, the movie as of right now is on Hulu, but one can only guess and wonder. Perhaps it's going to end up on Netflix maybe a couple months later, but we'll have to wait and see what they do. Speaking of the movie is supposed to be re-released again on Blu-ray, even though it's on Blu-ray right now, but it's supposed to be released in a 4-disc combo pack. 2 discs will be DVD and 2 discs will be Blu-ray. The reason for this is because the movie packed with it, the movie that's part of the combo pack with it, or combo pack with it, I should say. The movie, that's part of the combo pack with it is the 1986 MLP movie. So yeah, the 1986 MLP movie is finally going to be released on Blu-ray. Yeah, you were always wondering why Shout Factory didn't release it on Blu-ray originally when it brought it out for its, I think, what was it, 30th anniversary? I think that's what it was, for its 30th anniversary. Um, that's a good question, but obviously they were waiting for this movie to come out, and now they're putting it together as a combo pack to celebrate the 35-year anniversary of MLP. So, so there you go. So yeah, the 1986 My Little Pony movie next month will be released on Blu-ray for the first time as part of a combo pack, and maybe even individually. So that's something to look forward to, as well as next month. In fact, in about a week, we're going to get not a week, about a week. I think about a week. Let me check here. Yeah, in about a week or so, we're going to get season 9. I mean season 7, I should say, on DVD finally. So that's something to look forward to as well. So yeah, within the next in fact, let me check for you guys. And again, I do apologize for any lag or internet interruption. Okay, so My Little Pony, the movie, is part of my Prime account. So if you have a Prime account, you get to watch it for free. The movie is going for $12.38 on Amazon. Got a documentary here. My Little Brony fandom is magic. Huh. I wonder if anybody's heard of that. Excuse me. Trying to see here. Oh, sorry about that. My stomach. But yeah, the excuse me. Yeah, but sorry about that. But yeah, basically the movie is supposed to come out basically on Blu-ray next month, along with like I said, season 7. So looking forward to that. So yeah, I'm probably going to repurchase the movie again. Yeah, here it is, 35th anniversary edition. This is what I'm looking for. Hold on. Sorry for all the delays there. Yeah, it comes out the 16th of October. It's a 2-movie 4-disc collection. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to get on October 16th. Basically, I think about 10 days after season 7 gets released on DVD. Yeah, but that's what's going on there. Really, that's so. Yeah, really, that's about it. They do have new. McDonald's did get the Happy Meal toys in. You can check out Ben and John's Toy Bin and the discussion on that as well. I should know this as well because when I walked into McDonald's the other day to get some lunch, I noticed they had the little display there with Transformers, Cyberverse, and My Little Pony, the movie My Little Pony, right next to it. So pretty cool. And as you can see in the back here, I did a little rearranging to where, as I mentioned yesterday in a live stream, I took Twilight and Rainbow. Twilight, Rainbow, and Pinky. Put them right over on this side, and put the princess and put the other character and put Celestia Luna next to Cadence, because I don't know if you can see well. I ended up hanging these two up, and the horns of and the unicorn horns of Celestia and Luna were kind of interfering a little bit, kind of knocking it around, knocking the two figures around. So I just moved them to the other side. But yeah, that's really all I have to say, guys. Um, but yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you all for watching. I really appreciate you guys watching this live. And what I don't appreciate is certain people going on the live stream and saying certain things. But I think Animat said it best in his Q&A video he did recently. Matt Burnett, Animat. You can check that out. That, yeah, they're probably just teenagers that are bored right now. So yeah, just ignore them or do what I do. Just delete the comments, you know. Anyway, though, guys, thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. Um, you know, and really, that's probably going to do it for this live stream. Again, I apologize for any lag or interruptions that may have occurred. But thank you all again for watching, taking the time to watch. So really appreciate that. Like I said, I really appreciate that. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. So till next time, take care. God bless. And I am out. Thank you all for watching live.